Naoya Inoue, better known across the boxing world as the Monster, has earned his reputation not only by conquering divisions and collecting belts but also by destroying the pride of those who dared to underestimate or disrespect him. Time and again, opponents have made the mistake of mocking his Japanese heritage, belittling his name, or claiming his power was overrated. Each of them soon discovered that provoking Inoue was like stepping in front of a runaway train. He never needed to shout or boast outside the ring, but once the bell rang, he became a silent executioner, answering insults with fists and leaving reputations in ruins. His career is not simply a tale of victories but a saga of vengeance, one that shows what happens when arrogance meets inevitability. When Inoue first came to America to fight on television, he was still largely unknown in the West despite already being a fearsome figure in Asia. His opponent, Anthony Nieves, a Cleveland native, saw this as his chance to expose Inoue as a product of hype. Nieves dismissed the Japanese champion as overrated, a fighter who had never been truly tested because all his bouts had been in Japan. He carried himself with arrogance, convinced that he would be the one to reveal the truth. Yet when the first bell rang, it was Nieves who was exposed. Inoue came forward instantly, his jab sharp and commanding, cutting through Nieves's defenses. Those jabs carried the kind of concussive authority usually associated with middleweight punchers, not a lighter fighter, and they immediately forced Nieves backward. By the second round, Inoue was landing flush shots that shook Nieves badly, a right hand behind the guard followed by a cruel left hook to the body that made the American groan. Nieves tried to fire back, cheered on by his home crowd, but every counter was returned with something heavier. By the third, he was trapped against the ropes, his pride crumbling as combinations smashed his head and ribs. The punishment mounted, round after round, until a devastating left hook folded him in half in the fifth. Though he somehow got up, his corner saw the truth by the sixth. Their man had no chance. They stopped the fight, sparing him further torture. Inoue had announced his arrival to the American audience, proving he was no regional product but a monster fit for any stage. Not long after, Inoue moved up to bantamweight and faced Britain's Jamie McDonnell, a taller man with championship credentials. McDonnell did not show the respect due to such a dangerous opponent. Instead, he mocked Inoue during the build-up, laughing at the difficulty of pronouncing his name and dismissively referring to him as Inoue. It was childish arrogance, but it cost him dearly. When the fight began, McDonnell tried to use his height and jab to keep Inoue at range, yet within moments that strategy was torn apart. Inoue exploded with speed and power, landing a right hand followed by a vicious left that staggered the Brit. Within a single round, McDonnell was overwhelmed. Pinned against the ropes, he absorbed a torrent of punches until his legs gave way. The referee had no choice but to end it. McDonnell, who once sneered at the Japanese champion's name, was left crumpled and broken, humbled in less than 3 minutes. But perhaps no opponent showed more blatant disrespect than Puerto Rican champion Emmanuel Rodriguez. Rodriguez entered their unification bout boasting of his uncrackable chin and his superiority. His arrogance extended beyond words when his trainer went so far as to physically shove Inoue's father, Shingo, who had trained Naoya since childhood. Inoue stood silently as this insult unfolded, his arms folded, his expression unreadable. He said nothing, but his silence was the promise of vengeance. Rodriguez tried to start fast, pressing forward and attempting to impose his will. For a brief moment, it seemed he might succeed, landing some shots and forcing exchanges. But Inoue was studying, calculating, and waiting. In the second round, his response came like a thunderbolt. A lightning left hook detonated on Rodriguez's jaw, sending him crashing to the canvas for the first time in his career. Though he rose, he was soon doubled over by crushing hooks to the body. His vaunted chin and confidence meant nothing against Inoue's precision. In 2 rounds, the Puerto Rican was destroyed, and the shove against Shingo Inoue was avenged in the most violent fashion possible. Not every rival disrespected him. Nonito Donaire, the legendary Filipino champion, faced Inoue with pride and respect, but their first encounter in 2019 was so brutal that it became one of the most memorable fights of the era. Inoue suffered a broken nose and fractured orbital bone, yet endured and ultimately prevailed after 12 rounds of savage exchanges. Their mutual respect was genuine, their rivalry forged in blood. Yet when they met again years later, Inoue showed how far he had evolved. No longer willing to allow Donaire space, he pressed forward with surgical aggression. In the second round, he floored Donaire with a thunderous right hand, then finished him with a left hook seconds later. The respect remained, but the mercy did not. Donaire was demolished in 2 rounds, their rematch serving as a testament to Inoue's growth from warrior to executioner. In 2023, the American Stephen Fulton presented what many considered Inoue's toughest test. Fulton was undefeated, slick, versatile, and capable of boxing from every angle. He carried himself with confidence, dismissing Inoue's reputation as little more than hype built on power. He insisted that brains, not brawn, had brought him his success, and he believed Inoue was overrated. At the weigh-in, Fulton stared him down, trying to rattle the Japanese champion. But when the fight began, it was Fulton who unraveled. From the opening round, Inoue's speed was overwhelming. His jab pierced Fulton's defense again and again, setting up crushing right hands. By the middle rounds, Fulton was visibly slowing, the body shots sapping his movement. In the 8th, a devastating right hand followed by a left hook sent Fulton sprawling, his confidence shattered. The monster had silenced another critic, unifying titles and cementing himself as one of the greatest fighters on the planet. One of the most emotional fights of Inoue's career came against Luis Nery, a Mexican boxer who had long been hated in Japan for disgracing their hero Shinsuke Yamanaka. Nery had twice beaten Yamanaka, but both wins were tainted, one by a failed drug test and the other by missing weight. The Japanese fans despised him, and when he entered the Tokyo Dome to fight Inoue, boos rained down from every corner. For Inoue, this was not just another fight, it was vengeance on behalf of his nation. But in the very first round, disaster struck. Nery landed a perfect left hook that floored Inoue for the first time in his professional career. The crowd gasped, fear and panic spreading through the dome. Yet legends are defined not by never falling but by rising stronger. Inoue rose calmly, steadied himself, and finished the round. When the second began, he responded with a knockdown of his own, punishing Nery with precision. By the third round, the tide had turned completely. Inoue's combinations ripped through Nery's defenses, and a brutal uppercut followed by a right hand ended the fight. The Tokyo Dome erupted in euphoria, their villain humiliated, their hero triumphant. Inoue had avenged Yamanaka and erased the disgrace Nery had brought upon Japanese boxing. The most recent chapter of Inoue's path of vengeance came in January 2025, when he faced Korea's Jin Kim, a late replacement who stepped in after Sam Goodman withdrew. Kim was bold, perhaps reckless, and saw the fight as the opportunity of a lifetime. He pressed forward bravely, even beckoning Inoue to come closer, as though daring him to strike harder. But against the monster, such invitations are suicidal. Inoue targeted his body early, ripping straight rights into his trunk before moving upstairs with merciless precision. Kim tried to prove his toughness, but his gestures only invited disaster. In the third round, a perfectly timed right hand landed flush, sending him sprawling, the fight over in an instant. His courage was admirable, but courage does not survive against inevitability. Inoue's power and timing are not things one can test recklessly. Through all these fights, one thing remained constant. Naoya Inoue never needed to shout or belittle his opponents outside the ring. He never needed theatrics or insults. His calm demeanor, his respectful silence, and his willingness to let others talk contrasted violently with the destruction he unleashed once the bell rang. Those who mocked his name, questioned his heritage, or doubted his ability all suffered the same fate. Even those who entered with respect were dismantled mercilessly. His fists told the story. From Cleveland to Tokyo, from London to Las Vegas, he humbled champions, silenced critics, and avenged dishonor. He punished arrogance, defended his family's honor when his father was disrespected, and carried the pride of Japan on his shoulders when Luis Nery stepped into the Tokyo Dome. Inoue today stands undefeated, his record perfect, his belts collected across multiple divisions. Unlike many fighters, his legend is not built on trash talk or theatrics but on a terrifying consistency. Every time someone doubts him, he crushes them. He has avenged the slights against his family, his nation, and his own name. The lesson he leaves behind is one of clarity. If you face the monster with arrogance, you will be broken. If you face him with respect, you may last longer, but you will still be punished. He is the embodiment of boxing vengeance, a fighter who speaks softly outside the ring but devastates inside it. And as his career continues, the world watches with awe and dread, knowing that sooner or later another disrespectful opponent will step forward, and Inoue will once again let his fists do the talking.